Okay. All right. Well, my name is Jeri James. I'm Navajo, and I grew up in a very remote community on the Navajo Reservation, Navajo Mountain, Utah. Um, and there, it's very much isolated. It's a really small community, and so I had to learn a lot of the things just from family members, from community members, from stories, and I guess you could say I had a rough childhood. I did. I had a rough childhood, but I didn't know that it was rough until I was older. But looking back at it now, I went through a lot, and I think that's what I've learned to love so much about the Native American history is the resilience that is taught from our mothers and passed on from our grandmothers that I didn't and I never was taught as to how to be the victim or to be put in that victim stance. And so I didn't at any point think that I was that it was hard. I was taught to, be strong, to get through this, and to look to others around for support, and that's what I did. And so, growing up, I grew up with my father, my mother, my brother, and sister. My mom and dad divorced when I was 5, and previous to that, there was a lot of domestic violence in the home. He was an addict, he was an alcoholic, and that caused a lot of problems within our family. And my mom was very strong and wanted to set an example and show us, not by words but by action, how about self-worth. And so she left and moved away to go to school. And so she went to college. We moved out to Cedar City, Utah, and that's where she went to college. And there she got a degree in teaching, and then we moved back to the reservation after that. And from there, I, went to high school, and then I went to college. And in college, I initially started out to be I wanted to go into nursing, but then I soon decided that nursing wasn't quite for me. I learned that I wanted to help people in a different way. And so that's how I think social work found me. In that it was something that I just gravitated towards naturally. And when I went, it just felt like home. And so that's how I became a social worker. I got a degree in psychology at SUU, and then I went on to the University of Utah, and I got a bachelor's in social work, and then followed that up with a master's in social work. And currently I reside in St. George, and I work, within the community there for a couple of years. But really, my ultimate goal, because I grew up on the reservation, was to work on a reservation or to help a Native American community, because the culture and the heritage gave me so much, and I wanted a chance to be able to give back. And so when an opportunity came up to work here at the Kiabab tribe, I jumped at it, and I was really honored that I was chosen to be their social worker. And so I've been here about a year and a half, and I really love the community. It reminds me a lot of my home, in that it's very small, very close, very tight-knit, and I love how they really honor their elders, which is something that is really strong within the Native American culture, especially here and at my home in Navajo Mountain. I'm Navajo. So I just really have loved and enjoyed my time here, and that's kind of my story as to how I ended up where I'm at now.
So what are some of the challenges with the Kiabab and your work?
I think some of the challenges in general on Native American communities, more specifically reservations, are the resources. Those are hard to come by and to make it so that they're available to the individual or families in need. And I think another part is just going back to that, I want to say the traumatic history of it being reinforced that family is first and that they need to protect their family first before themselves, and that it's looked at as selfish if they, go against the family. But I think that's just something that can put a barrier, but it still is something we're able to work around. So those are some of the challenges that I have found working on the reservation.
What are some of the prejudices that you've seen within the non-native communities toward reservation communities?
I think some of the prejudice that I've seen from non-native individuals or communities about the reservation is the lack of knowledge, just not understanding the history of how tribes and individuals and families ended up on reservations, and how that was established, and how if in turn if they were to turn it around on them, and if they were to go through something like that, how would they deal with that? And just having the empathy of putting themselves in somebody else's shoes, I think can go a long way, and that's something that I've seen that doesn't happen too often. And so I think that creates that prejudice and not understanding just because of the lack of knowledge and empathy.
And the Kiabab is right next to Pipe Springs.
Yes.
Could you maybe give a little history of that and how that affects tribal people here? Because that's a different kind of history for the area.
Mm-hmm. As far as the history goes, I'm not too familiar with it, just because I've only been here about a year, and I've tried to build rapport with the elders in the community by going and kind of asking about some of the history and seeing where they're at, and I'm guessing just from their reaction that there is some tension there. So I'm trying to be respectful and just building the rapport first, and then I think I'll get the history from them. But I'm sure there is some history that, is, in literature that, goes and kind of explains it all. But I really love to get it from the elders because they've experienced it.
That's a good point. So can you tell me a little bit about your grandmas? Can you give me some examples? And you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but to let us know of their greatness.
Yeah. Well, my mother, of course, is, I look up to her a lot. And I think she got a lot of her strength and got a lot of her wisdom and teachings that were passed on from her mother, my grandmother. And I think that that is something really special about Native Americans. I find that it's a matriarchal society, so we look up to the women, but more importantly, we look up to the elders, so that would be grandmothers. And my grandmother is the head of the family, and she, in her earlier years, went through a lot, and I've come to really appreciate and really respect her more as a woman, as an individual, as a wife, and a grandmother, as I have grown up and seen and experienced my own trials and tribulations, and being able to look at hers and think, if she can get through what she's gotten through, then it should be no problem for me. And so I think sometimes they're not one, and I know my grandmother's not one, but in general, I just don't think that they speak a lot about their accomplishments, or they don't really speak a lot about what success is and what they've done. It's more very humble, and they do it for themselves and for their family, and it's just, she doesn't really speak of all of the things that she's done. And when I look at what she's done as far as, just in life in general and the person that she is, I just completely look up to her and think that I think she's the reason why I am the way I am, and why my mother's the way that she is, and most likely why my daughters will be the same way that I am.
That's cool. So if you were to think about the three most important philosophies that you've been taught and that you live by, what would they be?
I can only speak for my own family, and I don't know if this is just because my mom was kind of like a rebel, almost hippie, but she really, one of the things that she taught me and my brothers and sisters first and foremost was to be humble. And we definitely learned that. The second thing was, I guess if you want to put it out there like this, it's just what you put out there is what you get back. Very much the positive energy, positive vibe, positive aura, and that it is not up to you to give to somebody revenge, or they'll get what they get, and that's not up to you to give to them, and to always to bring it back to you and be focused on you. And then the third thing that I think that she really taught us was, again, just about the close-knit family. We very much support each other, love each other, and know that no matter what we go through, we have each other. And so I think just those three things that she's taught us have really made it to where, all of us are successful in our own ways. And that's one thing that I've learned is everybody's different, and one person's success is very different than another's. And so I think she's taught us that all three of us are successful in our own ways.
She's amazing.
Yeah, she is.
Is there anything else that you would like to share?
I think for me, the biggest thing is I once was that little girl on the res. Very remote, very little resources as far as money. I didn't think me achieving what I wanted was possible. But what I've learned is by hard work and staying focused and not giving up, that I've been able to achieve almost everything that I've wanted to. And I think that goes back to just knowing that you're worth it, and believing in that, knowing that you are worth it, and that if you work really hard, you can make your dreams come true. And I think I've learned that just because I came from pretty much nothing, and now I feel like I have everything that I've wanted, and it's all happened through me just not giving up, working hard, and staying focused. And I think sometimes it's really easy, in this day and age especially, to want something to happen right away, just that instant, I want it now. But it really does come from staying focused and working hard at something.
Thank you very much, Jeri.
Yeah.